Focus, creators of visual programming tools for software development, is pleased to provide major funding for the Computer Chronicles, the story of this continuing evolution.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and this is Gary Kildall, whom I'm trying to beat in a game of Pong.
Pay attention.
Pong is the granddaddy of all computer games, and that's the subject of our program today, computer games. And Gary, computer games, in fact, were important, weren't they, in getting the whole personal computer thing going?
Well, they certainly were a part of it. One of the unique aspects of a personal computer is that it often has bitmap color graphics, like the Apple II, for example. And that way you can do very dynamic things, games that you couldn't do, say, with a teletype style or scrolling display you would find in a larger computer system. This particular game, obviously, is a pretty old vintage, and they've gotten a lot more sophisticated since then, and we're going to see some of that today.
Indeed, we've got a very exciting show. We'll be meeting some of the superstars of computer game programming from Electronic Arts, from Atari, and from Activision. And while the idea of computers in games may be new, the idea of people playing games with machines is not really new.
Now, that was the first one.
That was legitimate. Before the first program was written to simulate a starry background or a speeding racer, penny arcades offered simpler, more mechanical amusements, but with the same goals in mind: to challenge and entertain. If the locale was less exotic and the competition less ferocious, at least some of the game's interactions were similar. A player needed manual dexterity in competing for points or a reward, more tangible in some cases than in others. As a device for escaping daily routine, computer-generated graphics brought a level of fantasy that no mechanical game could ever approach. Instead of escaping from a schoolroom or an office, a player could leave the Earth or move to a different universe. Modern arcade computer games offer different kinds of challenges, from fast action games that demand even faster reactions to maze-type games where the player threads his way around obstacles, and war games where the object is to destroy or be destroyed. In one of the latest adventure games, animated images are stored on Laserdisc to be recalled sequentially, following the story's plot and according to the player's responses. If the player moves the control stick in the right direction, he is rewarded with a successful escape. But if the player makes a mistake, the program picks an alternative sequence of images, and the results can be extremely uncomfortable. Whether used to create unknown worlds or to enhance the reality of familiar worlds, computer games succeed in an unlikely domain, transforming pinpoints of light on a little screen into a believable realm, larger than life, and usually more exciting. In the studio are Steve Kitchen, designer of an incredible new game, Space Shuttle, from Activision, and Chris Crawford, one of the top game designers with Atari. Gary?
Steve and Chris, you both build computer-based games. Do you call yourselves designers or programmers?
I call myself a designer because most of the sweat and blood I expend occurs in the design phase, not in the programming phase. I spend a great deal of time worrying about what my audience will experience in the game, and only towards the end of the project do I actually get down to writing any code.
When you think about the design of the game, what are the elements of the game that make it interesting?
Well, that has to do a great deal with what I'm trying to accomplish. I set a goal. I want a game to achieve a certain effect. I want to somehow communicate a message to my audience. That message then dictates the topic and the style of the game, the nature of the graphics, the feel. That's what the texture of the game that I'm trying to build into it. That's what I spend most of my time worrying about.
Chris, you're talking more like a writer rather than a computer programmer. Steve, is that how you see what you do?
That's basically what we are. We're writers. We're writing